finish your point. I'm sure you.
Well, it's not. I mean, this is just something. I didn't vote for the margin tax, but the fact is that both the advocates, the critics. I'm a critic of the system. You come to our hearings. I criticize margin tax all the time. John Sharp came to see me afterwards. He was tired of me criticizing it from the chairman's seat. But we have to talk about the history and the facts. Doesn't mean, as I said earlier, that we don't need to reform the margins tax, even if the deficit, projected deficit tied to the margins tax is smaller than what's been reported. Well, but I'm challenging the $5 billion number because we did not. I wanted a revenue neutral thing, but what happened was it was a $2.5 billion tax cut that the governor and the Sharp committee recommended. The legislature ultimately passed. I didn't vote for it. That passed, but during that thing we had a bill that passed tobacco taxes $1 billion. We had a new margins tax, a new business activity tax that brought in $2.5 billion less than the previous one, and we had $2.5 billion in new spending as a part of the bill that transferred the property tax burden that no one talks about that was in the foundation school program. I'm not debating whether we need it or not. I'm saying we need to talk about that was a $5 billion cost to the state, and it was not all the tax cut, which by the way was paid for through rapid growth in sales tax.
Okay, I want to give Jose a chance to respond.
Two simple facts, because these guys are in the thick of things, and so they're in the details. But for the viewers, two facts. Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst is fond of saying that there are 500,000 people moving to Texas every day. Okay, so 500,000 people every year. Every year, 500,000 new people in Texas. Texas is already 50th in per capita in spending, 49th or 50th, depending on what you're looking at. So if we're dead last in what we're spending per person, and we're adding 500,000 new people every year, it's not a spending problem. I mean, I think that's the thing that we can tell folks.
You're saying there's not a lot of fat in the state budget.
There isn't any fat. We cut most of the fat out in 2003, the last time we had this.
We did that in 2003, and then in 2005, 2006, spending rose. Some of that was restored over time. Government grows good and bad in bad ways.
Quick question.
But we did that again. We cut this last time even more than the two. We cut more this last time than 2003.
You know, Superintendent John Folks of the Northside School District was on the program, and he actually, I'm not sure if it was on the air or off, but he expressed a concern that the superintendents were being a bit too good about the way they're making cuts. They had quite a few $1 million of cuts in Northside, were able not to lay off any teachers. Mm-hmm. Are your constituents beginning to notice the effect on schools yet, or is it going to take a couple more rounds of cuts before they notice it, Mike?
No, I can tell you that the library is closed in our neighborhood school.
You have a school without a library?
It is closed on certain days. So we have a librarian that we share with another school, but when that librarian is at the other school, our library is closed.
Okay.
What the Kerrville School District did was, and by the way, those cuts are very substantial, very serious, but they found a way not to cut any in the classroom. And this next round that we're about to have, they're going out to the community and say, here's a lot of programs, some that are quite popular in the community. Parents, community tell us which programs are most important that you want us to keep and which ones that are not as important, because in the second year of this biennium, we're going to have to cut more than we've already cut in the first year. So that's what you do. I agree. There's no disagreement about the future of the state and what we have to do. And Mike and I are working very closely. The point is that not only do you look at the older perspective or the older conservative argument that we have fat, which sometimes is true and sometimes is not as true during different periods in our history. But here's what has to be considered from a conservative point of view is available revenue. The House is always the floor on spending. The Senate's always the ceiling. They were spending money in their version of the appropriations bill of money that we didn't know we were for sure going to have. We only added it in as we had it. That's a very responsible way to go. It doesn't mean at the end of the day that we don't have the ability as a body to vote for more.
Jose,
but that was smart.
Quick last word.
Here's what I think when people are going to feel it. When school starts looking like a government-subsidized daycare center, that's when they're going to. When that's what it's going to turn into. When the waivers that schools are going to have to turn in, and all of a sudden you go from 22 to 1 students to 30. students. How can a first or second year teacher control 30 first graders?
Well, they did when I was a kid, but
I have a constituent who has a student in a child in middle school. In his science class in Alamo Heights, 37 students.
Wow. Well, I will
unfortunate. I mean,
conclude by saying,
it's
as
not our objective.
the representative at this table of the baby boom, I was in the first year of it. Sister Carol Ann, who probably had 2 years of college, had 60 of
what
us
was
in
the
her
last
first
year of
grade.
that? Because I'm one of these things that transcend.
I don't know. I only know about the
I was
first year,
1960, and
1946.
no, you're a baby boomer. No, you're not a baby boomer.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very
Yeah.
much. Enjoy.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry I was running late.
Thanks, Rick.